Currently, I'm right by the window and it's very sunny out. Looks like a beautiful, gorgeous day outside, but I'm gonna have to delay going outside and enjoying it just for now because I'm going to be lightboxing today. I'm gonna be lightboxing this digital sketch that I've been working on. I printed it out and now I'm going to transfer it onto a fresh sheet of paper and begin the final drawing. So in order to do that, things are gonna have to get real dark in here in order for me to properly lightbox and transfer this sketch. This is a question that I get quite a bit actually in terms of like how I transfer my tracing paper drawings or my preliminary sketches onto a fresh sheet of paper. So I thought I'd kind of walk you through it in a little bit more of a detailed way. I'll show you some of the ways that I've done it in the past. And then of course, I'll show you how I'm gonna be working on it today. So stay tuned for that. Let's get some mood lighting going and we'll jump right in. Okay, so the first step in any kind of lightboxing is to have a very dimly lit environment, obviously. It's just gonna make the whole process much easier. So I'm here by my window and I'm gonna pretend that it's not beautiful and nice outside, and I'm just gonna close the blinds and block the sun from coming in. But since I'm here by the window, I wanted to just show you that if you have a window, which I hope you do, this is your lightbox right here. I've used this plenty of times. You just put your drawing up against the wall and start tracing onto a fresh sheet of paper. Pretty easy, pretty basic. The downside to this is that you can only do it during the day, and if you live in an environment that doesn't get too sunny, it's not going to be as reliable a source of a lightbox. Also, if it's like a big drawing that you're going to be working on for a while, transferring, it could be a little bit uncomfortable and a little tough on the shoulders to kind of like be upright like this the whole time. So keep that in mind. But if you don't have any of the other options that I'm going to talk about in this video, just use the window. Super easy. Okay, let's close these blinds, shall we? And then I'm going to shut off the rest of the lights too. Okay, so this is about as dark as it gets in my current situation over here. So you're going to have to work with what you got. Luckily, where my drawing board is, it gets pretty dark in that corner, which is good. But obviously this works best at night, or if you have like blackout curtains or any kind of curtains or something like that, that would definitely help. In terms of other options outside of just using the window, I have this sort of affordable Amazon lightbox. You might have seen one of these before. The technology on these things has advanced so much since I got my first lightbox when I was like 12 years old, and it was this big bulky thing with like an actual light bulb in it. But now they're super sleek. Look how thin that is. It's just like a piece of board, really. But you plug it in, you light it up, you put your sketch on it, you put the fresh sheet of paper on top of it, and you just get to work. It's pretty great. This thing is pretty easy to take with you as well. I forget the exact dimensions of this, but it's super convenient. And like I said, it's pretty affordable. I'll leave a link to it somewhere in the description if you're interested in picking this up. This is a really easy option for lightboxing. But that's actually not what I'm going to be using for today's drawing. Speaking of today's drawing, I wanted to show you, this is the sketch that I printed out. I talked about this idea in another video, a recent video that I made actually.
So there's this one sketch that I recently reposted on my Instagram, and it's a really rough pencil sketch. So pretty much what I did was I just took a picture of the sketch, I threw it into Photoshop, and I'm just like drawing on top of it digitally. I'm just letting my imagination go, seeing where the story takes me.
This is all my guidelines essentially. It allows me to now create something brand new and fresh on top of it. This piece is 11 by 17. That's what this sketch measures at. I'm going to transfer it onto an 11 by 17 sheet of Bristol board paper, and I'm going to start lightboxing pretty soon. Okay, I had to turn the lights back on. I just want to talk and show you what paper I'm using and start to tape this sketch behind the paper. This is Strathmore Bristol board paper, vellum finish. I prefer a vellum finish over a smooth finish. Sometimes I like the smooth finish as well. And maybe I'll talk about that in a video upcoming, but I made an old video about it. I'll try to link it here somewhere, about the difference between the vellum finish and the smooth finish. There's quite a big difference between the two, in my opinion, especially for like the inking process. I like Strathmore. It's great that it comes in the exact 11 by 17 size. This is perfect for comic book making as well, because 11 by 17 is sort of like your standard American comic dimensions when you're working on a comic page. So I'm just going to take this sketch and tape it behind the fresh sheet of Bristol board paper. So I don't always lightbox stuff. Sometimes I like the energy of drawing directly onto the final sheet of paper. I think there's sort of like a spontaneity that happens, and I guess energy, for lack of a better word, that kind of comes through in the art. The danger is losing the energy of the original sketch when you transfer it this way onto a fresh sheet of paper. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm lightboxing is keep things fresh and new. Just kind of stay in that frame of mind when I'm drawing it. Try not to be super loyal to the lines that are underneath. I'm just letting them act as a guide. There's certain things like the Vespa and the background buildings in this drawing that it's great that I kind of work those things out in the sketch, and I can be a little bit more loyal to that kind of stuff just because, for me at least, architecture and vehicles are a little bit more challenging to draw, especially on the fly. So it's nice to have reassurance of the sketch underneath. But when it comes to like the energy of the body language and the facial expressions, I don't want to just simply loyally trace those lines, because I feel like that could take out some of that natural energy and spontaneity in the drawing. So it's a tricky balance, and I'm sure if you've done this in the past, you know that one of the hardest things to do is maintain the energy of a sketch in the final drawing. Sometimes you just get something so right in like a little tiny thumbnail too, and it's so hard to recreate that in the final image. But that's the challenge. That's what being an artist is all about. So, like I said, right now you might not be able to see, I'm just taping the sketch. Here's the sketch. I put it behind the fresh sheet of paper, and I'm just taping it behind the sheet of paper. Also, it's worth mentioning that I re-pencil this. Sometimes some artists will go straight on with inks, and I've done that in the past as well. It depends on the piece, but most of the time I just re-pencil and then I'll ink from there. And when I'm penciling, I keep it loose and gestural. I don't even use the pencils like I'm inking it. I want to still sketch, and I still want to find lines, because if I'm too precise with the pencils, for me at least, if they feel too clean, then the inks are really there to kind of clean things up. So then by the time I finish inking the piece, it could feel very like sterile. And I'm trying to avoid that as best I can. Okay, I'm in front of my drawing desk. The lights are shut, the blinds are closed. This is the darkest corner of my apartment, which is perfect for lightboxing. Now what I do is I take this clampable light desk that I have, and instead of shining it this way, I just put it underneath my drawing board. I should mention my drawing board is a glass top. That really, really helps. I keep it nice and clean so that I can see all the light coming through from below. And I got this drafting table purposely because it had a clear top. It really is perfect because I could have a light box that's as big as my drafting table. And as long as I keep the lighting dark, then I just turn on the lamp underneath, and it really does the trick. It's sort of like a perfect large light box. Now I'm going to take my drawing with the sketch taped underneath, put it on top of the drafting table, and see if it's dark enough in here. Yeah, that's pretty good. That should do the trick. Now I'm just going to dive in, probably put some music on, really try to get into this drawing and start the creation of the pencils. Remember, the point of doing the sketch prior and lightboxing is to kind of take the pressure off. So that's sort of my mindset going into it. Now it's all about just creating a fun new drawing on top of it. But all right, let's get to drawing. Okay, so update. I figured I wanted to kind of give this video a proper ending and just also update you on some of the penciling so far. It's about 2 days later. I haven't been penciling it all these 2 days. I've been working on other things, but I wanted to show you where it's at so far. Here's a look, but I'll give you a closer look. This was definitely a challenging one. It gave me a lot to think about as I was penciling it. A lot of the things that I was talking about earlier in this video really presented themselves as I was working on this. I sort of expanded and built upon that initial sketch. Both of their heads are at like this slight angle. The whole composition too is kind of on this slight perspective. So I'm trying to keep everything consistent within that. I wound up redrawing and erasing those faces too many times to even mention. But where I'm at right now with it, I'm happy with it. I think that it's ready to start inking. The background is still really, really rough. I really was just focusing on the foreground elements, the couple and the Vespa. So instead of now penciling the background, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start inking the foreground so that after that is all inked, I could then go back in and refine the penciling in the background. With a piece like this where there's so much of the composition filled up, if I sort of spend too much time on the penciling process, a lot of things might start to smudge and kind of bleed into each other. So to really just help me kind of clear things up, I'm just going to start inking in sort of stages. So since the next stage is going to be the inking stage, let me know in the comments if that's something you would like to see. I could make a follow-up to this video, just giving you a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look at how I go about inking this piece. Okay, so cool. I think that's it for this video, finally. We started with lightboxing, we went into penciling, and now we're already talking about inking. So hopefully this gave you sort of like a comprehensive insight into some of my process as it relates to this particular piece. If you have any specific questions about this or anything else, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to have more of a conversation about my process and any questions you might have regarding it. Also, I'll leave some links in the description in terms of anything I might have mentioned in this video that you're interested in picking up. There'll also be some links as to where else you could find me on the World Wide Web. So cool. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.